I caught my brother in my fiancée's bed 14 hours before I was supposed to marry her. The tux was hanging on the back of the bedroom door. He saw it when I opened the door. She saw me at the same time. Nobody moved for about 6 seconds. Then I took the tux off the hook, walked downstairs, got in my truck, and drove until the gas light came on. That was 5 years ago. I'm writing this from a house I own in a state where nobody shares my last name and nobody knows the man I used to be. My mother called last Tuesday. First time I have heard her voice in 4 years. She was crying before she said hello. She said, "Everything fell apart. We need you. Please come home." I said, "I am home." And I hung up. Let me start from the night before the wedding. My name is Alec Harmon. I was 29. My fiancée was Darcy Shaw. Together 4 years, engaged 11 months. Wedding set for Saturday, June 8th. Venue booked. 140 guests confirmed. $38,000 total cost. I paid $26,000 of it. Darcy's parents covered the rest. Everything was done. Rehearsal dinner was Friday night. The wedding was 14 hours away. My brother Porter is 26. 3 years younger. He was my best man. He gave a toast at the rehearsal dinner, stood in front of 40 people, held a glass of champagne, and said, "My brother is the best man I know. Darcy, you are getting the real deal. I am proud to stand next to him tomorrow." 6 hours later I found him in her bed. The rehearsal dinner ended at 10:00 p.m. Darcy went to her parents' house. Tradition. Bride and groom do not see each other the night before. I went to our apartment. Porter said he was going to a bar with the groomsmen. Said he would crash at a friend's place. I was supposed to sleep. Instead I drove around. Nervous energy. The good kind. The kind where you cannot sit still because tomorrow is the biggest day of your life and you want to fast forward time just to get there. At midnight, I decided to drive to Darcy's parents' house. Stupid romantic gesture. I was going to leave a note on her car. A letter I had written that morning. Something she would find before the ceremony. I had it in my jacket pocket all night. The house was dark except for the guest bedroom window on the second floor. Darcy's room for the night. The light was on. I figured she was up late. Nervous, too. I did not ring the bell, did not want to wake her parents. I had the spare key Darcy gave me a year ago. Let myself in through the side door. Took my shoes off so I would not make noise on the hardwood. I walked upstairs. The hallway was quiet. The guest bedroom door was closed. I could hear something. Movement. Low voices. I figured she was on the phone, maybe talking to a bridesmaid. I opened the door. Porter. Darcy. In bed. Not talking. Not on the phone. The tux was hanging on the back of the door. My tux. For my wedding. In 14 hours. And my brother was in the bed with the woman I was going to wear it for. Porter saw the tux first. Then me. His face did something I have never seen on a human being before. It collapsed. Like every muscle decided to stop working at the same time. Darcy pulled the sheet up. She said, "My name. Alec." Just my name. Like it was a question. Like she was not sure I was real. 6 seconds. That is how long I stood there. I counted later in my head. 6 seconds of looking at my brother and my fiancée in a bed 14 hours before our wedding. I did not yell. Did not throw anything. Did not put my fist through the wall. I reached forward. Took the tux off the hook. Tucked it under my arm. Walked downstairs. Put my shoes on. Got in my truck. The letter I had written for Darcy was still in my jacket. I threw it out the window on the highway. I drove for 3 hours. Ended up in a rest stop parking lot 180 miles away. Turned off the engine. Sat there until sunrise. At 6:00 a.m. My phone had 34 notifications. 12 missed calls from Darcy. 8 from Porter. 6 from my mother, Rhonda. 4 from my father, Wayne. 2 from Darcy's mother. 2 from my friend Oakes, who was a groomsman. I opened one text from Porter, sent at 12:47 a.m. It said, "Alec, please. Let me explain. It is not what you think. Please call me. Do not do anything. We can fix this." Fix this? My best man in my fiancée's bed night before my wedding. Fix this? I opened one from my mother, sent at 1:15 a.m. She said, "Porter called us. He told us what happened. We are devastated. But please do not cancel the wedding. We can figure this out as a family. Darcy loves you. Porter made a terrible mistake. Do not throw everything away over one night." One night? My mother knew my brother slept with my fiancée the night before our wedding, and her response was, "Do not throw everything away over one night." I turned off my phone, sat in that rest stop until 8:00 a.m. The wedding was supposed to start at 4:00 p.m. In 8 hours, 140 people would arrive at a venue with flowers and chairs and a cake I picked out, and a DJ who had our first dance song cued. I called one person, Oakes, my groomsman, the only person who had not tried to tell me to calm down. He answered on the first ring. He said, Alec, where are you? Everyone is looking for you. I said, rest stop off I-78, 180 miles out. He said, I know what happened. Porter told me at 2:00 a.m. He is a mess. Darcy's a mess. Your parents are at the venue right now, trying to figure out whether to send people home. I said, send them home, there is no wedding. He said, you sure? I said, my brother was in her bed, Oaks, 14 hours before I married her. Yeah, I am sure. He said, what do you need? What do you need? Same question. The only question that matters when someone's world is on fire. Not what happened. Not calm down. What do you need? I said, I need you to go to our apartment. Pack a bag for me. Clothes. My laptop. My toolbox from the garage. My documents folder from the desk drawer. Leave everything else. He said, where am I bringing it? I said, I will text you an address. Give me an hour. I called a motel. Not a hotel. A motel. Off the highway. $52 a night. Paid cash. Checked in under a name that was not mine because I did not want to be found. Oaks arrived at 1:00 p.m. with my bag. He walked into the motel room. Looked around. Looked at me. He said, this is rough. I said, this is day one. He said, your mom called me. She is begging me to tell her where you are. I said, do not. He said, she says Porter is devastated. Says he made a one-time mistake. Says Darcy is hysterical and the venue is calling about cancellation fees. I said, $4,800 cancellation fee. I know. I signed the contract. Let Darcy and Porter split it. They shared a bed. They can share a bill. Oaks did not laugh, but he did not argue either. He said, what is the plan? I said, I disappear. He said, for how long? I said, long enough. The wedding was officially canceled at 2:00 p.m. that Saturday. 140 guests turned away. Some had already arrived. Driven hours. Booked hotels. Bought gifts. My cousin later told me the parking lot was full when the venue staff started telling people. Some people cried. Some were angry. Most just stood there holding gift bags and looking at each other. Darcy's parents lost $12,000. Non-refundable catering. Flowers. Rentals. Darcy's father called my phone 9 times that day. I had already changed my number. Monday morning, I called a lawyer. Not for the wedding, for my life. A guy named Strauss, business attorney. I had been working as a project manager at a construction firm. $78,000 a year, good career, good trajectory. I told Strauss the first was leaving the state and needed help liquidating what I could. He said, what are you walking away from? I said, an apartment lease with 7 months left, a joint savings account with $16,000 in it, a 401k with $42,000, and $26,000 in wedding costs that I am never seeing again. He said, the joint savings, is your fiancée on it? I said, yes. He said, withdraw your half today. Before she does. I withdrew $8,000 that afternoon. Left Darcy's half. Wednesday, I resigned from my job. My boss, Yates, said, Alec, take a leave. Do not quit over personal problems. I said, I am not quitting over personal problems. I am starting over. This is the first step. He shook my hand, said, if you ever need a reference, call me. Thursday, I loaded my truck. Everything I owned fit in the bed and the back seat. Clothes, tools, laptop, documents, the toolbox, Oaks brought to the motel, my grandfather's watch. That was it. Friday morning, I drove west, 1,100 miles, Denver. I chose Denver because I had never been there. Nobody I knew lived there. No family, no history, no fiancé, no brother. Just mountains and a city that did not know my name. I arrived on a Sunday. Rented a room in a shared house, $650 a month. Shared kitchen, shared bathroom, 4 other guys, all transient, all starting over. Nobody asked why. 3 weeks into Denver, my mother found my new number. I do not know how. Maybe the phone company, maybe a friend slipped. She called at 7:00 p.m. on a Tuesday. She said, Alec, thank God. We have been looking everywhere. I said, I know. That is why I left. She said, you cannot just disappear. You have a family. I said, I had a family. Then my brother slept with my fiancée the night before my wedding, and my mother told me not to throw everything away over one night. That family does not exist anymore. She said, Porter is destroyed. He has not stopped crying. He lost his brother over one mistake. I said, one mistake? He stood at the rehearsal dinner 6 hours earlier, and called me the best man he knows. Then he drove to Darcy's parents' house and slept with her while I was writing her a love letter at midnight. That is not one mistake. That is a performance followed by a betrayal. She said, he is your brother. You cannot cut him off forever. I said, watch me. She said, your father wants to talk to you. Wayne got on the phone. He said, son, come home. We will work through this. Families recover from things like this. I said, families do not recover from this. Families that tell the victim to forgive the betrayer do not recover. They just pretend until the pretending runs out. He said, we are not asking you to pretend. We are asking you to give Porter a chance to make it right. I said, how? How does he make it right? Does he unsleep with Darcy? Does he unstand at that rehearsal dinner calling me the best man he knows? Does he undrive to her parents' house at 11:00 p.m., knowing I was getting married in the morning? Tell me what making it right looks like because I would love to hear it. He did not have an answer. I said, do not call this number again. I will change it if you do. He called again the next morning. I changed the number within an hour. New number. Fourth person to get it. Oakes, Strauss, my boss Yates for the reference, and the landlord. That is my entire world. Denver building. First month I got a job with a general contractor. $22 an hour. Less than half what I had been making. Did not care. I needed income and I needed to build with my hands because my hands were the only part of me that still worked right. Within 3 months the contractor, a man named Dwight, moved me to site supervision, $34 an hour. He said, you manage a crew better than guys who have been doing this 20 years. Where did you come from? I said, somewhere I'm not going back to. He said, good enough for me. Month 6. Dwight offered me a partnership on a flip. He had a property. I had $14,000 in savings. We went 50-50 on materials. I did the labor. He managed the sale. We cleared $41,000 profit. My half, $20,500. While I was framing walls in Denver, Porter and Darcy were imploding back east. Oakes kept me updated, not because I asked. Because he is the kind of friend who tells you the truth whether you want it or not. Month 3, Oakes texted, Porter and Darcy are together. Official. Your parents are hosting them for Sunday dinners. Your chair is still at the table. They put flowers on it. Flowers on my chair. Like I was dead. Like I died instead of left. They grieved me, rather than hold Porter accountable. Month 5. Oakes texted, Darcy's pregnant. Porter announced it at a family dinner. Your mom cried happy tears. Your dad shook his hand. They celebrated the pregnancy from the affair that destroyed my wedding. Happy tears. Handshakes. Sunday dinner with flowers on the dead son's chair and champagne for the brother who killed him. Month 8. Oakes texted, Porter lost his job. Got into a fight with his manager. Your parents are covering his rent. $1,400 a month. Month 11, Oakes texted, Darcy had the baby. A boy. They named him after your grandfather. Owen. Your grandfather's name. They gave the affair baby my grandfather's name. The name I was going to give my first son. The name I told Darcy about on our third date when I said, if I ever have a boy, his name is Owen. After my grandpa. She remembered and she gave it to Porter's son. I put my phone down and did not look at it for 2 days. Year 2. Dwight and I did 3 more flips. I saved $78,000. Opened my own LLC, Harmon Property Solutions. First project, a 2-bed bungalow I bought at auction for $142,000. Gut renovation. 4 months of work. Sold for $229,000. Profit after costs. $47,000. While I was pulling permits in Denver, Porter was pulling money from my parents. Folks, year 2, your parents remortgaged the house. $120,000. Porter needed capital for a business idea. Restaurant. Your mom co-signed. A restaurant. Porter has never cooked a meal that did not involve a microwave. My parents mortgaged their home for a man who cannot boil water. Year 3. My company had 3 employees. Revenue, $440,000. I bought my own house. 3 bedrooms. Paid $315,000. Put $80,000 down. The rest on a 15-year mortgage at 4.2%. Monthly payment, $1,780. Folks, year 3, restaurant closed. 11 months. Porter owes vendors $34,000. Your parents are paying it off with a HELOC. Darcy took Owen and moved back to her parents. She and Porter split. 11 months. That is how long the exciting life lasted. The affair. The baby. The restaurant. The Sunday dinners. All of it. 11 months before reality ate through the fantasy. Darcy left Porter. The woman who left me for him left him, too. Because the qualities that make someone an exciting affair partner are the exact same qualities that make them a terrible life partner. No discipline, no follow-through. No ability to build anything that survives the first winter. Year 4. My company did $1.2 million in revenue. I hired my 6th employee. I met a woman named Sloan at a charity build for Habitat for Humanity. She was on the roofing crew, swinging a hammer in steel-toed boots. First woman I'd looked at in 4 years. We went for coffee. She said, tell me about yourself. I said, I build houses. She said, that is what you do. Tell me who you are. Nobody had asked me that in 4 years. I told her everything. The wedding, the brother, the bed, the tux on the door, the rest stop, Denver, all of it. She listened without interrupting. When I finished, she said, "You drove 1,100 miles instead of throwing a punch. That is either the most disciplined thing I have ever heard or the saddest." I said, "Both." She said, "What do you want now?" I said, "To build something nobody can take." She said, "Then build it. I will be here." Sloan and I have been together 14 months now. While I was building with Sloan, Porter was falling apart without Darcy. Oaks. Year 4. Porter is living with your parents again in your old room. The restaurant debt is $34,000 still. Your parents' HELOC is maxed. Your dad's retirement is gone. He cashed it to cover vendor lawsuits from the restaurant. $68,000 gone. $68,000 in retirement gone for a restaurant that lasted 11 months, run by a man who gave a toast about brotherhood 6 hours before sleeping with a bride. My mother tried to find me again in year 4. She hired a private investigator. The PI found my LLC registration, Harmon Property Solutions, Denver, Colorado, but not my home address. I had registered the business to a P.O. box. The PI called Strauss. Strauss called me. He said, "A private investigator called my office looking for you. Said your mother hired him." I said, "Tell him I am alive, employed, and uninterested in contact. If he gives my mother any additional information, I will file a harassment complaint." Strauss related. The PI backed off. Year 5. Last month, Oaks sent the longest text he had ever written. He said, "Your parents are losing the house. The HELOC payments plus the original mortgage plus the restaurant debt equals about $4,100 a month. Your dad's retirement is cashed out. Your mom's income is $2,400 from her job at the school district. They cannot cover it. Foreclosure notice was filed last week. Porter is living there, contributing nothing. He works at a warehouse now. $16 an hour. Sends $400 a month to Darcy for Owen. The rest goes to gas and a phone bill. Your parents are about to be homeless because every dollar they had went to Porter." I read that text sitting on the porch of my house in Denver. The house I bought with money from flips I did with my own hands. The house Sloan helped me paint on weekends. The house where nobody calls me boring and nobody sleeps with anyone they should not. 3 days after Oak's text, my mother called. She got in the number from the PI before Strauss shut him down. One detail that leaked, my phone number. She called on a Tuesday. I answered because I was curious what 5 years of consequences sounded like. She said, "Alec, please do not hang up." I said, "Talk." She said, "Everything fell apart. The house is in foreclosure. Your father cashed his retirement for Porter's restaurant. The restaurant failed. Porter and Darcy split. She took Owen. Porter lives with us. But he does not contribute. We are $4,100 a month in debt on a $2,400 income. We are going to lose the house your father and I have lived in for 31 years. I said, "I know." She said, "You know?" I said, "Oak tells me everything. I have known about every dollar you spent on Porter. The $1,400 rent. The $120,000. The $34,000 in restaurant debt. The $68,000 in retirement. I have known the whole time." She went quiet. I said, "You mortgaged your home for a restaurant run by a man who cannot boil water. You cashed Dad's retirement for vendor lawsuits from a business that lasted 11 months. You did this because Porter is the son you chose, and the son you chose costs more than you can afford." She said, "We made mistakes, terrible mistakes. But we need help. We need you to come back. You were always the one who fixed things." I said, "I was. And instead of choosing the one who fixes things, you chose the one who breaks them. And you told me to forgive him. The night before my wedding you said, 'Do not throw everything away over one night.'" She was crying now. She said, "I was wrong. Your father was wrong. We should have stood with you. We should have told Porter he was wrong. We should have." I said, "You should have. You did not. That was 5 years ago. I'm a different person now. I live in Denver. I own a house. I own a company. I have a woman who does not call me boring and a life that nobody is trying to steal from me. You are asking me to leave all of that to come fix a mess that Porter made and you funded." She said, "He is your brother." I said, "He was my best man, and he slept with my fiancée the night before my wedding. He is not my brother. He is a stranger who shares a last name." She said, "What about your father? He is 67 and he has nothing, no retirement, no savings. He is going to lose his house." I said, "Dad cashed $68,000 in retirement for Porter's restaurant. I did not make that decision. Porter did not put a gun to his head. Dad chose to do it because Dad has always chosen Porter, the way you have always chosen Porter. And now Porter is 31 years old living in his parents' house contributing $0 while the house goes into foreclosure around him. That is not my problem. That is the natural result of 31 years of enabling." She said, Are you really going to let us lose our home? I sat with that question for a long time. Longer than she expected. The silence stretched. I said, Mom, 5 years ago I stood in a rest stop parking lot at 3:00 a.m. on what was supposed to be the night before the happiest day of my life. I had $8,000, a truck, a toolbox, and a family that told me to forgive the man who destroyed me. I drove 1,100 miles to a where I knew nobody. I slept in a shared house with 4 strangers. I worked for $22 an hour. I built a company from a P.O. box and a pickup truck. Nobody helped me. Nobody called to check on me. Nobody chose me. I chose myself because you did not. And now you are calling, because you need the son you threw away, to fix what the son you kept destroyed. The answer is no, she said. Alec, please. I said, take it up with Porter. He is the one who is home. He is the one you chose. Let him fix it. I hung up. She called 3 more times. I did not answer. She texted, please call me back. Your father is sick. Porter cannot help. We need you. I did not respond. Wayne called from a different number. Fooled me. I picked up. He said, son, I know your mother called. I know you are angry, but I am asking you man to man. I am 67. My health is not good. I have nothing left. I gave it all to Porter. I know that was wrong. I know I chose wrong. I am saying it now. I chose wrong. Come home. Help me fix this. I said, Dad, you chose wrong for 31 years. Not once. Not at the wedding. 31 years of picking Porter over me. Every dollar. Every excuse. Every second chance. You chose him and I got nothing except a tux on a door in a rest stop parking lot. And now that he has drained you dry, you call me the backup. The fixer. The son who does not need you. He was crying. My father. Crying. He said, I am sorry. I know that does not fix it, but I am sorry. I said, I believe you. But, sorry does not save a house. And I am not saving one for a man who has been sleeping in my childhood bedroom contributing nothing for 2 years while you and mom went broke around him. He said, what do we do? I said, sell the house before the bank takes it, move to something you can afford. And tell Porter to get a second job or find his own place. That is what you do. That is what I did 5 years ago when I had nothing. He said, will you come to the sale? Will you be there? I said, no. He said, will I ever see you again? Long pause. Longer than any pause in this whole story. I said, I do not know, Dad. I honestly do not know. He hung up or I did. I do not remember who ended it. Just that the phone was silent, and I was sitting on my porch in Denver, looking at the mountains and feeling something I had not felt in 5 years. Not anger, not satisfaction. Grief. Old grief. The kind that lives in the part of your chest where family used to be. Sloane came outside, sat next to me, did not ask what happened, just sat there the way the right person does when the wrong people have taken everything they can take. After a while, she said, you okay? I said, my dad cried. First time I have heard that. She said, that is hard. I said, yeah. She said, you do not owe them. You know that, right? I said, I know, but knowing and feeling are different rooms in the same house. And tonight I am in the wrong room. She put her head on my shoulder. We sat there until the sun went down. My parents' house sold 6 weeks later. Oaks told me $198,000. After the mortgage and HELOC payoff, they cleared $14,000. 31 years in that house and they walked away with $14,000 because they gave everything else to the son who breaks things. They are renting now. 2-bedroom apartment, $1,100 a month. Wayne's health is declining. Rhonda works at the school. Porter moved out. Finally, he is in a studio apartment, $800 a month, works at the warehouse, $16 an hour, sends Darcy $400, barely surviving. Darcy's raising Owen alone. The boy with my grandfather's name living at her parents' house, working part-time at a dentist's office. The woman who chose excitement over stability is back in her childhood bedroom, same as Porter, same as every person in this story who chose the exciting option over the reliable one. And me? I am in Denver. $1.2 million in revenue last year, a house I own, a woman I love, a company that employs 8 people now, a life I built from a rest stop parking lot and $8,000 and a tux I carried out of a bedroom where my brother was sleeping with my fiancée. That tux is still in my closet. I kept it, not out of sentimentality, as a reminder that the worst night of my life was the first night of the life I actually deserved. My mother said everything fell apart. She is wrong. Everything fell into place, just not for the people who chose wrong. I was the son they could count on. The one who showed up, the one who built, the one who fixed, and when it mattered most, they told me to forgive the one who destroyed. So, I chose myself, drove 1,100 miles, built something from nothing, and when the phone rang 5 years later, I already had the answer. No, not because I am cruel. Because I am the man they raised me to be. The one who solves problems, the one who builds things that last, the one who does not waste resources on things that cannot be fixed. Some things cannot be fixed, some bridges burn from both ends, and some suns drive west until the gas light comes on and never look back. I am that sun, and I've never been better. Thank you so much for watching until the end. If you really like our videos, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Have a great day.